Okay, popeth yn iawn, okay. Bore da, pawb. Bore da. Mae'n ddydd Iau, it's a Thursday, we can do better than that. Bore da? Gwell. Oh, da iawn, extra points. Yeah. So, croeso mawr I chi, bore da, croeso cynnes. Hello everyone, thank you for coming. We're about to start today's conference. My name is Hugh Thomas, and I'm delighted to be here today. We had a fantastic day yesterday, and I'm sure you're going to have a fantastic day today as well. I'm going to be hosting the session now, and we'll be joining teachers and students for some of the panel discussions later on today. A little bit about me. I went to Sir Hugh Owen School in Caernarfon, and from Caernarfon I went to the University of Warwick. My selection of university was pretty straightforward. I wanted to study European law, and back then, towards the end of the 20th century, there were only 9 places that offered European law. So I only had to choose 5 of those for UCAS, so it was fairly straightforward. From there, I went to Oxford to work and was lucky enough to work with a lot of academics and students at Warwick University. Lived with a couple of people who were tutors at Oxford University, so I got a really good flavour for that city and its university life, which was a really good experience. And then from there, 12 years ago, I set up my own business. Felly, dwi rhedeg cwmni ar enw Sglaen. Sglaen means to shine or to polish. A beth ni'n neud yw, ni'n trio neud gwahaniaeth I busnesau ar draws Cymru. So, o ddydd I ddydd, neud gwahaniaeth yn bywydau pobl I busnesau. Iawn, dewch I ni gael edrych ar beth ni'n mynd I fod yn neud nesaf. So, we've got a number of Welsh speakers here today, and I can see some of you having a go with the translation equipment. I'm going to explain that to you now. So on your seats, you will have seen a set of headphones, or if you're sat in some of the front seats, I think, something like that. Yeah. So just to explain, we've got Aled here translating. Now ni roi prawf ar rhai nawr I gael gweld. So the first thing, if you've got these, they go like that, okay? They do work like that, but they're meant to be like that. So it's up to you. As long as those 2 things are in your ear, you're okay. And it's as simple as turning the wheel on the bottom until you can hear Aled. Okay? If you've got those, same thing with the headphones, and press the button, the on button that's in the middle. Okay? So I'll test them. If you're wearing them, dylech chi allu clywed beth dwi'n dweud trwy Aled. As dwi'n na'n gweithio, allwch chi goddi'ch llaw. Da iawn. Pawb yn clywed? Pawb yn iawn? Simples, iawn? So, os rhywun yn siarad yn Gymraeg, os rhywun eisiau cyfrannu'n Gymraeg, mae croeso I chi wneud. A os chi ddim yn siarad Cymraeg, na gyd chi'n wneud yw cael rhain yn eich clystiau. Hawdd iawn. Good. Okay, so a couple of things in terms of safety as well. Fire alarms, no test planned today. So if the alarm goes off, follow the instructions of our event staff. They're fairly easy to spot because they're quite bright yellow, most of them. So they'll be able to show you where to go safely. Follow their instructions to ensure we all exit the building and make the way to the main car park where you came in. Secondly, mobile phones. If we ask you, just to keep them on silent for the time being, but we're going to ask you to keep them on to answer surveys and questionnaires throughout the day. It's a really important part of the day is that we hear from you. It's not just about you listening. We really need to listen to you and hear from you. So please make sure that you take part in the surveys that we've got for you. And if you're able to save some battery, and depending on Wi-Fi, we're encouraging you to use your phones to look at social media and to follow, reflect and comment on what you see and what you've heard today. We're going to be looking at the channels throughout the day, so again, use it to ask questions of us as well. You'll see these on the slides throughout the day, and the hashtag is hashtag Seren 2017. Wi-Fi as well, just as easy. The Wi-Fi code is Seren 2017, all lowercase. So as I said, please keep in touch, have a look, follow, and keep contributing to the discussion. The Wi-Fi yesterday we had some fun with. It wasn't exactly stable all day long, but if you've got it, it was 3G or 4G, and I'm sure you'll be able to manage. Throughout the day as well, just following on from that, take a moment just to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. somebody mentioned towards the end of yesterday, the fact that Seren is a community, and we want you to be part of that community and join in with that community. And that's relevant for students and teachers with us today. We've also got a weekly blog, which we're encouraging you to help us write, and we've got 3 students from Radyr who are up there. Yeah, there we are. And they'd really like to hear from you in terms of your help. If you look around during the day, you'll see on things like the pop-ups, real-life Seren students, okay? And you could be the face of Seren. So it's about people like you, seeing young people like you and thinking, they're like me, I could do what they've done, and you've got an opportunity to do that to the next group of people coming through Seren. So they're looking for examples of real-life students such as yourselves to be, the face of Seren for things like social media and for coverage in the media. Yesterday, actually, we did really well in terms of coverage, got some great coverage on BBC and on ITV Wales, and you can look at that on iPlayer and on ITV Catch-Up, some really good coverage across the media. In terms of coffees and water, there's plenty of breaks throughout the day, and lunch is provided during the break in the middle of the day in the exhibition space, which you might have seen. So, as I just touched on media, we're going to be filming today's conference and streaming highlights as well. They're going to be available at a later point, and we're going to be live streaming a selection of the sessions. So a big hello to anyone watching now. Right. In terms of that exhibition space I mentioned as well, don't forget you'll have opportunities during the day to visit the exhibition stands, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our partners and universities for their continued support. There's nothing like getting out there and meeting as many of them as possible, talking to them face to face, having a chat and finding out about how they can provide you with opportunities. So please make the most of that opportunity. And amongst the exhibitors we've got STEM Cymru, who are here to talk about engineering and science projects that you can get involved in, and again, relevant for students and teachers alike. We've also got Airbus, who are here to talk about their school and school leaver programmes, as well as further careers. We've got Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol, here to talk about the options for Welsh language study courses and bursaries for studying in Welsh. And we've also got Technic West and Careers Wales, so a great combination and a great variety of exhibitors. With that in mind, could you please take out the programmes you've got in your packs? Okay, and as you'll see, the bilingual flip-flop, Welsh and an English side to them. If you could go to the middle pages, you should see some notes pages. Okay, and during the day, as you're listening to the speakers, as you're in some of those sessions, if you need to take any notes, if you want to take any notes, please make use of that, just as a sort of reminder of people that you want to talk to, or of points that you want to bring up with someone. And to jot down any questions that you'd like to ask the exhibitors and universities during the lunch break and between sessions in the afternoon. Just because it's not during a formal session, don't worry about, don't think you can't ask someone something, that you can't check on something with someone. And as you can see from the timetable, it's quite a lot of opportunities for you to sort of take advantage of and to visit the exhibitors. And one change that I'd like to just highlight for you in the programme, if you look at the timetable, his lunch is going to be from 1 till 1:45, so just one small change. And if you can come back here for 1:45 before you start the session, the afternoon sessions at 2. Okay? So 1 to 1:45 for lunch, and then back here to start again at 2 in the afternoon sessions. Yeah? Great. We're also delighted and incredibly grateful to the Open University, who sponsored elements of the conference today. And teachers, Open University will speak to you about their free online modules that may be of interest to you and your pupils later today. Thanks also to the University of Sheffield that have provided pens for all delegates. So you might have just been writing some notes there without realising, but they've sponsored the pens. Also, in the breakout space, we've got representatives from several universities, including the London School of Economics, Durham, Imperial, Bath, King's College London, Nottingham, UCL, Cardiff and Southampton. Thank you to all of them. Diolch yn fawr I chi I gyd. So, I mentioned earlier, there's nothing like seeing something face to face. We've got a chance now to look at a video that gives you an idea of the work of Seren, or an outline of the work of Seren, and some of the recent successes. So let's have a look at that.
involving local teachers with each other to share resources, to share expertise, but it's about connecting students as well, so that high achievers in Wales are coming together, sharing the same ambitions and aspirations.
Dwi'n meddwl bod yna sawl lefel i waith Seren. Dwi'n meddwl bod yna mewn pynciol yn cyfres o'r cwricwlwm yn ysgogi pobl ifanc o ran gwaith yn ysgol astudiaethau ac yn cynnal ac yn datblygu hyder y astudio.
Seren has always pushed to apply to Oxford, Russell Group Universities, 4 out of 5 of my options are Russell Group Universities, and I believe that's as a result of Seren giving me this transferable skills and making me feel confident applying to top universities.
Seren they give you those skills, they give you those opportunities, you go right into businesses and look, I've done this is why I offered the course, this is why you should pick me.
We started with the continued study skills, then going to different schools, so we now school did a politics session, we had a philosophy seminar, we're taking down Oxford engagement. So it's all about the study skills, the interview skills, the confidence to communicate, as well as think in a more wider way.
Standards grounds, Durham, Bath, local and Kenyan, and more in Studio Mathematics and Mathematics Etheg. Ond meddwl yn pethau mwyaf dynodol dysgu, oedd y cyfle i gael sut i ysgrifennu dysgau personol, a da sut i ysgrifennu, a be mae'r brifysgol yn top isio, a be sydd yn gwneud yn dysgau.
I've hoping to apply to Imperial College London, Nottingham, Warwick, Bristol and Cardiff. I want to go into research, so I'm particularly interested in biology, and I think being part of the Seren network just gives me confidence and has encouraged me to apply to better universities than I would have if I hadn't been part of the Seren network.
Without Seren, I don't think I would have applied to Seren. The course presentations that we received, so in my case, the natural sciences and chemistry, really made me think, oh, I want to do both. I don't want to specialise, and one of the few places that offered that was Seren.
You don't just learn skills which are just needed at the top universities, like any instant skills that help you in life, but also what sort of universities you're applying to.
Dwi'n si yn ffeithio yn prifysgol o Gyffredin, lle o'n i'n astudio biochemeg, fel unig. Roedd cyfle i weld y prifysgol yn ei gyda'n fwy da. O'n i'n gallu gwahanol yn y cansyniadau dyn ni'r prifysgol, ac i weld yn y lle jyst bobl uwch yn ymwneud.
I'm looking for students who seem to have thought carefully about their choice of course, particularly, and also what they hope to gain from doing the degree. I think for students who are thinking about getting involved with Seren, you get it all. It's a 2-year package. It gives you every opportunity you could possibly ever want to really make a brilliant application to a competitive course at university.
Os o'n i'n trio rhoi cymorth i ddisgybl ysgol sy'n bwriadu mynd i brifysgol, os o'n i'n dweud, yn gyntaf edrych mewn i ble sy'n neud eich gwrs chi, os mae'n gwrs arbenigol iawn falle, does dim lot o lefydd yn neud e. Ar ôl ffeindio allan, edrych mewn i ble yw'r lle gorau yn neud e, yn enwedig ble yw'r lle gorau i'ch chi. Heb os mae gael ei bag yn gyda'r pawb, yn y pob cyfnod y Seren, ar y lot o gyfleoedd y prif yn geisio gyda'r ysgol.
Make sure if you get the grades at GCSE, you go into Seren, because it is so worthwhile. I think it really gave me courage to apply to higher universities rather than maybe just one thing.
Seren definitely told us that actually just because it doesn't mean you can't go, you definitely can do it.
Fel ni'n gweud gynnau, dim byd fel clywed.
As I said earlier, there's nothing like having direct experience, and I hope that you make the most out of the experience.
Mae'r cymryd
Now,
cyfle yna,
taking that
manteisio ar bob
opportunity,
cyfle yn bwysig iawn.
benefiting
Mae
from
siwr gymaint o
every
bobl yma
opportunity
heddi
is so
sy'n siarad
important.
gyda chi,
There are so many
sy'n
people
siarad
here
gyda
today
chi,
who
sy'n
want
siarad
to
rhannu
talk
gwybodaeth
to you,
gyda chi.
who
Felly,
want to
unrhyw
share
gyfle chi'n
information.
cael,
So
gofynnwch
every
ie,
opportunity you
gofynnwch
get,
cwestiynau,
make the most of it.
gofynnwch ail
Ask
cwestiynau,
questions,
os nod
ask a
nhw,
second
gofyn
question,
mwy o
go back
cwestiynau.
again this
Mae
afternoon,
heddiw
ask
i
more
gyd yn
questions.
byti chi,
Because
ar
today
ganfod mwy
is
fel
for
bod chi
you.
sy'n neud y
Today is
penderfyniad
for
sy'n
you
iawn ar gyfer
to
chi
discover
a
more
gyfer eich
and to make the
dyfodol
right
chi.
decision for you and your
So
future.
that video was produced to inspire and motivate our Seren students and shares with you some of the ways that taking part in the programme has inspired and developed our students. I think those two words, hopefully, you're going to feel them quite strongly today, inspiration and motivation. Iawn, let's get down to the business of the day then. As you can see, there's quite a lot to go through in the timetable. First, though, we're going to hear 5 different perspectives on the topic of university progression. First of all, we've got Mike Nicholson, Director of Student Recruitment and Admissions from the University of Bath. Then we've got Dr. Matthew Williams from Jesus College, Oxford, who's going to talk about the summer school. And then we're going to hear from 2 students who are now completing their degrees at highly selective universities. They're going to be reflecting on their experience and their journeys from sixth form in Wales. And then from one student who has had support from the Seren network and is now preparing to take her next step to a top university after the summer. So the start of the Seren network is 2015, and it's delivering the set of recommendations that was set out in Lord Murphy's report of 2014, which was looking broadly to support students into selective universities across the UK and indeed abroad. And over the last 18 months, and across 11 hubs, thanks to the work of students, parents, hub coordinators, lead teachers and university partners, the Seren network has provided academic masterclasses and information and guidance sessions to over 2,000 Welsh students. One of those 11 hubs is from the Cynntaf Merthyr, and the 3 students you're going to be hearing from are all from that hub. So it's a great example of what's happened in a very short period of time, really, 18 months. And all of these 2,000 Welsh students, including the ones we've got with us today, have got the great profile to progress to a top university. And this conference is all about supplementing the programmes you receive in your hubs and providing a central point where many of our university partners can engage with the programme. And the theme for today is beyond the curriculum. Many top universities want to select the students that can demonstrate a broad passion for their subject. It's crucial that your students can evidence an engagement with your subject beyond the confines of the syllabus. The academic sessions that you're going to have today will provide a new perspective on broader areas of study beyond A-level and beyond Welsh back curriculum. And for teachers, we hope the day is going to prove really useful for you in terms of professional development. We've designed the programme to include useful practical advice, top tips, and a space for asking and discussing key questions. So let's hear from the first of our speakers. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mike Nicholson, Director of Student Recruitment and Admissions from the University of Bath. Mike.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You may recognise me from such things as the Seren video. What I want to do is focus on what I, as a Director of Admissions, would be looking for in an application, because I think for many of you, you're going to get an awful lot of guidance and an awful lot of advice from your teachers, from the representatives of Seren activities, from current students. I'll try and distill that down into something that might help you navigate your way through both today and going forward to the point that you make your applications. Just to give you a little bit of background, I'm currently Director of Admissions at the University of Bath. I've been there for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, for 8 years, I was Director of Admissions at the University of Oxford and was quite involved in the setting up of the Seren network. At that point in time, the focus was very much on the low progression rates for Welsh students to Oxford and Cambridge. I'm delighted that over, obviously now I work for Bath, it's moved beyond that ambition, and now I think it's fair to say the focus is very much on helping you all prepare for competitive courses, competitive universities. Oxford and Cambridge obviously amongst those, but as you'll see from the universities represented today, it's a much, much broader field than just Oxford and Cambridge. I also just want to kind of point out before I start, this is a really good opportunity. There are not many occasions where you will get this much expertise focused on one place in this kind of way. So when you are engaging today, don't miss the opportunity to talk to the university representatives. I know it coincides with lunch, and by that point you're probably going to be starving, but do try and carve out some time to talk to the people from the universities on the stands. As far as I'm concerned, there's a number of things that are going to make you stand out as an applicant. First of all, participation in the Seren scheme is something that's worth noting on your application form. You can probably get a whole paragraph, frankly, out of your personal statement talking about the sort of activities that you are doing in the Seren network. For people like me, just mentioning Seren helps, because what it says to me is somebody identifies you as having the potential to get the sort of grades to get to my university. Because the sort of students who are identified for the Seren project are students who have got the capability, the potential to do well and to flourish in highly selective courses and universities. I've talked to some of you already this morning. One or two of you, I think, are at that point in year 12 where there's maybe a little bit of self-doubt setting in. At this point in time, it's about research. It's not about making a lifelong commitment. So don't be afraid about asking questions. Don't be afraid about engaging with people today to find out more, to make sure that you're making very informed choices. Things in particular you might want to try and find out. Matthew's going to talk about the summer schools that Oxford run. Most universities run summer schools. The deadline for applications from any of those summer schools are coming up fairly quickly. So at Bath we do summer schools for science, engineering and for social sciences, which are the broad areas that we cover at Bath. The deadline for those courses is next Friday the 24th. We've got all the application materials with us today, so if you like the idea of finding out a bit more maybe about Bath, then come and find and talk to us over lunch about the opportunities. But my colleagues from the other universities will also be able to talk about their chances. And I think for many students that can be a really good introduction to whether, first of all, it's a useful insight into the university, but also, again, because you'll be doing it in advance of writing your personal statement, it'll give you something to talk about what you've done beyond studying your A-levels, beyond studying your BTECs or whatever else it is you happen to be doing. Also find out a bit more about subject tasters. There's a really, really brilliant academic programme being put forward today. Very few students will get the opportunity ever to experience that. It's a real strength of the Seren programme, but there is more that you can be doing on top of that to help develop your understanding of your subject disciplines. So again, find out about what universities can be doing today to enhance that. Many of you will be required, I know, to do the skills certificate as part of the Welsh Bac core. Some of you will be doubting whether that's a good thing. I would suggest one of the questions you should be asking today is, do the universities take that into account? At Bath, for every degree except mathematics, if you get a B grade in your Welsh Bac, you will find that we'll take a grade off the standard offer. So if you're applying for mechanical engineering, which is A-star AA, get a B in your Welsh Bac core, it automatically drops to a 3A offer. My colleagues at Southampton are doing something similar. Other universities are beginning to recognise that there's a lot of work involved in doing well in the Welsh Bac core. Now it's a graded qualification. So find out whether it's going to help you in your application. I also think you should try and find out what people specifically are looking for in personal statements. Different universities have different requirements, different expectations. Use the expertise that's available today to find out a bit more. Is work experience a necessary prerequisite? Do you have to demonstrate particular skills? Find out before rather than find out after you've applied and find that you've missed an offer because of the lack of that extra additional experience beyond your academic subjects. And then find out as well what we can do to enhance your opportunities going forward. Many courses will give you the chance, in addition to doing your academic study, to either spending time studying abroad as part of your degree, which often really does enhance your application, particularly now with Brexit. To be perfectly honest with you, we're going to need more people who have experience of different languages and different cultures if we're going to be successful as a nation. And then finally, think about things like placement opportunities. You can go to university, you can find that you can get paid for part of your studies, and quite substantial amounts. We've got students at Bath doing placements that the university has helped them find who are getting between £25,000 and £40,000 just for a placement year. So don't ignore the possibilities of today to find out more, to get more information, and to make sure that when you're putting in your application, it is not just built around, I have studied these subjects in my post-16 studies. We get tens of thousands of applicants who've done that. The ones who will generally get the places, from places like Bath, from places like Oxford, it's the students who've done that bit more. It's the ones who are showing already that they are beginning to plan, beginning to take responsibility for their future studies. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr, Mike. Thank you very much.
Great,
to you,
thank you very much, Mike.
A nesa, hoffwn i ofyn i
Next,
athro Matthew
Professor
Williams o
Matthew
Coleg
Williams
Prifysgol
from
Rhydychen, sy'n mynd i sôn am
Oxford
Ysgol Haf
University
Prifysgol Rhydychen.
will talk
So
about the
next, we've got
Oxford
Dr. Matthew
University
Williams
Summer School.
from Jesus College at Oxford University, who's going to talk about the Oxford Summer School. Diolch, Matthew.
All right, good morning everyone, thank you for that, Hugh. So I'm from Jesus College at the University of Oxford. Oxford is divided into 30 undergraduate colleges. Jesus College is the Welsh college because we were founded by a Welshman in 1571 and we still have very proud connections to Wales. We are offering an entirely free summer school, including all travel expenses, food and accommodation for 4 days in August for you to come and stay with us in our beautiful 17th century pile of buildings in the middle of the city of Oxford. We're going to be talking about the future, where you will have sessions from world experts on everything from artificial intelligence to climate change to demography, trade, politics and literature. This is exactly the sort of thing that Mike was just talking about in terms of going beyond your academic study at school and delving into problems that are out there in the universe that might be of interest to you. It's not a disciplinary summer school. In other words, we won't be doing specific subjects like maths, physics, law, economics, etc. It's interdisciplinary. We are looking at various problems that we think are interesting. We want to find out what the future may hold for us, and we want you to come and learn with us. This is a collaboration between Jesus College, the Welsh College, and the Welsh Government and the Seren Network. We're really thrilled for this to be going on. We're inviting 22 Seren learners to come to see us. That will be 2 each from the 11 Seren hubs. And we encourage applications with the deadline being the 6th of June. The 2nd of June. We've got flyers and information, so if you come and find me at the Oxford University stall, I'll be very happy to give you more information. And please do apply. We'd love to see you, and we're really excited for this new opportunity to get more fantastic applicants from Wales, which is currently, as Mike said, somewhat underrepresented at the University of Oxford. So thank you so much for listening. Please come and meet me. Please come and apply for our amazing summer school. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr, Matthew. Fantastic opportunity, cyfle anhygoel I nifer ohonych chi wneud cais am hwnna, I gael y blas na o fywyd yn Rhydychen a bywyd Prifysgol Rhydychen, a I glywed wrth arbenigwyr o wahanol feisydd, mae'n gyfle, well, heb I ail. Right, now that we've heard from the summer school, or heard about the summer school rather, it's an opportunity to hear from some of the students. Next we're going to hear from Chloe, who's going to reflect on her personal experience of progressing to university. So Chloe Ratcliffe, is a history undergraduate at King's College London. She went to Afon Taf High School in Merthyr Tydfil and then went on to do her A-levels at Coleg y Cymoedd in 2014 before moving to London for her undergraduate study. And Chloe is going to share her perspective on the step from secondary school to higher education. We hope you find it stimulating, and if you've got any questions for her, she's going to be taking part in student sessions later today. And she's going to be at the King's College London stand, which is being run in the lunchtime and afternoon sessions. So croeso mawr I Chloe. Let's all welcome Chloe.
Bore da pawb. So my name is Chloe and I'm a final year undergraduate at King's College London studying history. I was asked to speak here this morning to tell you more about me and my journey from sixth form to studying at a Russell Group university. 4 years ago, I was in the same position as you. I was sat in a big room with hundreds of other students, listening to someone that I couldn't really relate to, giving me their winning formula on how to make your way from sixth form to university. The truth is, there is no winning formula. My journey from sixth form to university was different to that of my friends. It will be different to that of the other speakers, and it will be different to yours. A minority of you might want to study history, and a minority of you might want to go to King's College London. But hopefully the anecdotes and advice that I can give you today will help you on your own journey. I was the first person in my family to go to university, and I was even the first person in my family to stay in school beyond the age of 16. Although my parents didn't know much about university, they provided me much emotional support as possible and were a great soundboard for my mad, panicked ramblings about league tables and personal statements. There was nothing profound for me in being the first person in my family to leave for university. Instead, it demonstrated for me that no matter how different you feel in the community that you're brought up in, there is an opportunity for you to get out and break the rut. The worst case scenario is that you'll spend 3 years studying something you love in a different location, and that's it. That's the worst thing that can happen. Now, I'm going to talk about making choices. A portion of you might already know what you want to study, but for the rest of you, you might not have a clue, and that's fine. To make good choices, you need to be informed, and you need to be able to weigh up the pros and cons. At A-level, I was studying physics, maths, history, and English, and that array of subject bears the mark of someone who wanted to keep all of their options open. Since around the age of 13, I was adamant that I was going to become a theoretical physicist. I'd watched enough Brian Cox documentaries to be a match for A-level physics, and I had a thirst for maths that would propel me forward. However, after contending with AS-level physics, I realised I was perhaps more of a casual observer of the discipline rather than an active participant. At the end of year 12, I was racking my brain about what it was that I wanted to study. My head of sixth form wanted me to apply to attend a Sutton Trust summer school, but we couldn't fill out the application form until I knew what it was that I wanted to pursue. The deadline was approaching closer and closer, and I still didn't know. Every time I thought I'd reached a conclusion, something had changed my mind, and it felt like the world was racing forwards without me, which wasn't helped by my head of sixth form tilting his head and tapping his watch at me every time he passed me in the corridor. And then it hit me, and I couldn't believe I hadn't noticed it sooner. I'd always had something to pitch in with during my history lessons, and I'd realised that in my study of English literature, I was far more adept at the context of every novel than the content. So we put history on the form, and that summer I was whisked away to Cambridge for a week-long summer school. Having the opportunity to take part in a Sutton Trust summer school was invaluable, and I really do recommend attending summer schools for people who want to explore their chosen topics in more depth. You'll be in an environment where you have access to top academics and a group of fellow students who are just as enthusiastic as you are. Once I'd returned to sixth form, the next step was choosing a university. The summer school had inspired me to apply to Cambridge, along with pressure from my teachers. But aside from the summer school, I only ever went to 2 open days, and both of them were at King's College London. The first time I attended was because I was in London on my own and I had some time to kill. It was a general open day where you get a feel for the university and you get shown around accommodation and get talks about finance. But I knew that as soon as I stepped in that building, that is where I wanted to be. And more importantly, I found out that King's has a ukulele society, which is quite a niche hobby of mine. The second time I attended was at the invitation of a friend who was going with her parents. She also wanted to study history, and this was a specifically history department open day, so I jumped at the chance. What sticks out for me on this day was the opening talk from the man who is now my head of year. He opened his presentation with the line, "I don't have a PowerPoint or a handout, because I imagine if you can't remember what I'm going to tell you in the next 30 minutes, I probably won't be seeing you next year." My friend immediately turned to me, completely aghast, and said, "How can you want to come here?" For her, it was off-putting, and now she's happily studying history at Lancaster University. But for me, it was the challenge I needed, and it was the challenge that I was willing to accept. The important message to take from this is that what works for your friends most likely won't work for you. My best friends are now a legal advisor for a mental health charity, a policy advisor working in international relations, and a set designer for the BBC. Not all of them went to university, and none of them had these career goals in mind during their A-levels. The most important thing for them was doing what felt right at the time and following what they cared about most and what they enjoyed, whether that meant going to university or doing a traineeship. All of these paths are as valuable as each other. Being at a top university makes me proud of my achievements, but it doesn't make me feel any different to the friends who took other paths in life. So I applied for Cambridge and I applied for King's, and I was very much happy to leave my UCAS application at that. But after much persuading from my teachers, I added another 3 in there just to be safe. I was interviewed at Cambridge and placed in the winter pool, but I wasn't taken out. Understandably, I was devastated, but I was also relieved, as my visits to King's had remained at the back of my mind. The philosophy I like to follow is that when something goes wrong, that everything happens for a reason. This isn't because I believe that there's some kind of divine plan laid out for me, but because there are things in life that occur that you feel that you have no control of. And those are the things which make you rethink what it is you really want. I knew I needed somewhere like King's. I needed room to explore as many extracurricular activities as possible. I needed room to mature and become as independent as possible and as well-rounded as possible. Being in London has given me a massive amount of freedom. When you move away from home, you have an opportunity to reinvent yourself. Being in London increases that possibility tenfold. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an enthusiastic ukulele player, and I've not only been able to embrace the University Society director of last year, but I also join in London's ukulele community and take part in public performances. I'm a keen painter, and I've been able to go to events at the National Portrait Gallery, and I've joined an intellectual community, which wasn't much of a possibility for me back at home. I can engage with people who care about the things that I care about and take part in debates and discussions. Being in London has opened my eyes to massive amounts of diversity. Even at King's, there are students from over 140 countries. My message is don't go with what everyone expects from you. Find your own path. Find the things that really make you excited. I'm now in my final year, and I'm thinking about entering in the world of employment. I spent the last 2 years building up my CV through my student ambassador job at King's and my volunteer work at the Victoria and Albert Museum, which wouldn't have been possible unless I was in London. I had no idea what my career plans were before starting my degree, and I'm still not entirely sure, but I think I'll figure it out at some point. Now, the theme of this conference is going beyond the curriculum, so I would like to say a few words about what that means for me. Inevitably, the curriculum is narrow. The subjects that you study are so wide it would be impossible to cover it all in school. Reading around your subject is important because it will help you understand what it is about that topic that you really love, and you can explore aspects of it that you would otherwise have not had access to. A lot of universities have their department reading lists available online, and if they don't, there is nothing stopping you from emailing the department of a university you like the look of. They will be more than keen to help you out. If you need to know anything about academics, it's that given any opportunity to discuss the subject that they've dedicated their life to, they're going to take it. Learning outside the syllabus will further your expertise in your subject, and it will help you to understand if that subject really is for you. When it comes to applying for a university, you're going to have to convince them that you deserve a place on that course. If you can demonstrate a wider awareness of that topic, which goes beyond the syllabus, you're giving them evidence of your dedication. So before I finish, I want to give you some pieces of advice that I wish were told to me when I was your age. When you're choosing a course, think about what it is that really gets you going. What is it that you go out of your way to read about more? What documentaries do you find yourself listening or watching? Embrace the depth of the subjects you already study and embrace the subjects you've never heard of before. It took me until I was at university to realise there was such a thing as dietetics, which is the study of nutrition, war studies, which is the study of war past and present, and informatics, which, to be honest, I'm still not entirely sure what that is. You can only know if you want to study at a university if you visit the actual place. There's only so much you can get from a university's website and branding, or hearing from people like me. Lastly, and most importantly, build up good relationships with your teachers. I started my application before the Seren programme existed, and so I didn't have the infrastructure that's offered to you today. So the most important person for me at this time was my head of sixth form, who was my go-to if I had any problems or if I was finding things difficult or stressful. Just because you're high achievers doesn't mean that it comes naturally to you or that you don't find it stressful. You need to look after your own well-being. And teachers, I implore you to look at the environment that you create for your students and ask yourself whether it's an environment where they feel comfortable speaking out if they're struggling, if they don't know how to handle stress, or if there are more serious underlying problems. You play a vital role in not just moulding their minds, but making sure that those minds come out of their A-levels as happy and as healthy as possible. And now finally, I'd like you all to think about the goals that you have. Whether those are the goals that you have for the next 2 weeks, the next 5 years, the next 30 years. The things that you find yourself daydreaming about when you're staring out of the bus window. If there's nothing else you remember from what I've said, remember this. You are more than capable of achieving those goals. You have to reach for the impossible rather than the possible to reach your full potential. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Chloe. Mae'n hyfryd, fel ni'n gweud, clywed wrth rhywun yn uniongyrchol sydd wedi bod trwy'r profiad yna. A cofiwch beth o'n i'n gweud am y modelau rôl. Gallech chi fod rhywun fel Chloe mewn blwyddyn neu ddwy, sy ar llwyfan ysbrydoli pobl eraill, a'n rhannu profiad personol nhw o'i siwrne nhw. Felly cofiwch
experience.
am y bobl
So
yn Castell
don't
Melyn
forget
sy'n
about the
cwrdd â
people
chi
in yellow
i fod yn
shirts.
wyneb
They
Seren yn y
want to
dyfodol.
meet you, and hopefully
A
you'll be the
reminder
face of
also
Seren
that
in the
Chloe's
future.
going to be around today for you to speak to her further if you want to have a word with her. And we wish you all the best in your studies in King's, Chloe. Right, next up, we've got another inspirational student who secured a space at Cambridge University to study law. Jacob Lewis's journey to university didn't follow a conventional route, and he's going to talk to you about that today. We're delighted that he's made time to come and join us for the conference today, and he's going to speak about his experience of moving from Wales to Cambridge and how he chose his course. Please give a warm welcome to Jacob Lewis.
Tangled in my headphones. Well, good morning, and I would like to thank the Seren Network for inviting me here this morning. I have come straight from Cambridge. It has got me out of a triple lecture, so very glad indeed. I was 21 when I decided to finish my A-levels. There's 5 years between me doing my AS and A2, and in that period I was employed by the Secret Service. I'm joking, I was a mortgage broker. Or maybe that was just my cover. Anyway, right, so I was 17 and I got 4 A's. But what I had at 17 was nobody telling me at that point what I could do with those grades, what I could potentially go on to achieve having had those grades. And being 17, I thought I knew everything. I dare say you guys share that. Maybe you do. And I thought the best thing to do was to go out and work because I wanted money now and freedom and unlimited booze, not when I qualified. And that was a big mistake. And I'm going to allude to a talk that I did to some kids, right, not so long ago. They were a little bit younger than you, right? And I got them to write down on a piece of paper. This is relevant to you, I promise. What they wanted to do in life, what their dream was, their dream career. And they're in like a classroom, sort of with rows, like now. And I put a bin at the front. And I told them, right, okay, aim for the bin. And some of them wrote down, doctor, astronaut. One of the kids wrote down porn star. Love that kid. And aim for it. And the ones at the back, right, they're sort of protesting. They say, well, the ones at the front aiming for this, like, imaginary bin have got a bit of an advantage to us. And I said, yeah, now, this bin represents the achievement of your hopes and dreams. And the better you do in education, the closer you are to the metaphorical bin and have a chance to achieve them. And it was 5 years later, so that I realised what a monumental cock-up I'd made, and not knowing that. And it was maybe about a week after I started, the sixth one. This one teacher, he called me into his office. I got a really terse email. Can you come and see me, please? He's the head of A-level. I thought it was because I called some Tory kid an idiot, and I was going to be told off. What I called him was much worse. And he said, well, I've had a look at your file, and technically the grades you got from 5 years ago meet the minimum requirements for Cambridge. Why don't you have a go? And that just sort of put the idea in my head. It's that show of faith, the offer of support that the college gave me to at least give it a try. The thought had never occurred to me. But when you've got that idea in your head, I felt like I'd never forgive myself if I didn't apply, because I could have the best job in the world going to another university, but I would always have in my head, what if I didn't at least try and get to Cambridge? And fair play, my college helped me every step of the way, as did the head of A-levels. Myself and Chloe actually share the same head of A-levels, a guy called Ian Rees. And teachers, it just goes to show what difference one teacher can make. Above all, it's the sort of you can do it that made the difference. Like if you go through life on the assumption that you're not good enough for Cambridge or that other place, that assumption can be hard to remove. It's hard to apply with faith and confidence and conviction if you don't think you're going to get in and that it's all just a waste of time. And overcoming that perception is probably one of the biggest debts of gratitude I owe my college. And this is now the benefit you're going to have with the Seren. You you've been identified as the brightest and best in Wales. And you have a lot longer than I did to thoroughly research what it is that you want to do at university. I just picked law because I kind of like the idea of being a lawyer, and I thought it'd make my mum proud. But it's such a rush getting that application in. You guys have got time to really consider that, and you've already got this knowledge that you are good enough. And people ask me what Cambridge is like. I think I'd make 3 observations. Firstly, 2/3 of students at Cambridge are from state schools. It doesn't mean that the private schools aren't at an advantage. Like, only 7% of students are in private education, and if they're making up 1/3 of the numbers, clearly they've got a bit of an advantage. But again, this is what the wonderful Seren network is going to help to overcome. But yeah, they're not all very posh, just some of them. Some of them are very posh. Secondly, it's very hard, but that doesn't matter where you're from. Everyone finds it as each other, whether you went to Eton or you went to like Eastern High School, my old stomping ground. Like, statutory regulation of exemption clauses in a commercial context is still just as hard to grasp. The trick is to work together, divide the labour, and that is what I'd strongly advise you guys to do as A-level students as well. Try and revise in groups if you can. Help each other, help your mates, honestly. Problem shared is a problem halved. And then people ask me what the difference is between a degree and A-levels, and I'll illustrate that with an example from my own subject, relevant to the social science students, not so much maths. Let's imagine that each of you were offered £1 million for attending this conference. All you've got to do is be bang on time for the opening speech at 9 a.m. So, of course, you leave very, very early. But then you're driving along the motorway, and a drunk guy, about half a mile up the road, is driving very badly and causes an accident. And there's like a massive tailback. You can't even turn around because there's other cars. And the long and short of it is that you're late and you lose your £1 million. Now, I'll tell you that it's not legal to kill him, but can you sue him? Well, you can sue him, but would you win? Is the question. Now, in college, when you're doing the A-levels, you'll be told that answer and be expected to memorize it for an exam. But at university, you'll find that answer for yourself and learn why the answer is that way, the reasoning behind it, and argue whether it's the right answer, or if not, what it should be and why. I want my £1 million is not a valid legal argument. And this brings me sort of to the extra curricular stuff. I say this, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So you would assume I would be a lawyer. I mean, that's why I wanted to study the thing. But in terms of extracurricular, at Cambridge, there are 932 student societies. Not all of them involve drinking. Most of the ones I'm a member of do, but... Point is, there's an abundance of extracurricular work. It's not like you go home and you do your work and you play FIFA or something. You know, at university, go fencing instead. Or, but one of the things I do, right, is I do a lot of work with the local homeless community, like handing out food and all that sort of stuff. I went to the Calais refugee camps as well. That's where I got this Technicolor coat. I stole it from a refugee. I'm joking, they have a charity shop. All right. Well, the point is, right, so when you're doing your extracurricular stuff, do something that you're passionate about, and I'm passionate helping the homeless, in an academic environment at one of the best universities in the world, and you get ideas. So what I'm going to do for the rest of my life now is, I did a bit of research in Cambridge, because, you know, I'm a bit of a geek, right, finding out why people don't tend to give cash to homeless people. And the overwhelming response that came back from that is, oh, they're going to spend it on alcohol or drugs or something, and I don't want to fund such a habit. And we all like takeaway food. Yeah? Cool. Idea is that takeaway shops are now going to start selling vouchers that you buy at the takeaway shop, give it to a homeless guy, and he redeems it in-store for food, and therefore you know that you've actually bought him a meal. Point is, I'm not saying that for free advertising, although it doesn't hurt. but to demonstrate that doing stuff that you are really passionate about in an academic environment like that can give you ideas and take you down paths that you'd never thought possible before. And that's also why I'd advise, the reading around the extra subject. Like reading for A-level, it's kind of like a bit of a chore. You're doing it because you have to pass your exam at the end. But if you do further reading towards subjects that you're genuinely interested in, so I love law, so I read all sort of law stuff, but history or whatever, you'll kind of be reading it because you want to, because you're passionate about it, and then it's not such a chore. And if you're finding that you're reading around a subject that you think you want to do, but you find it, you're not really engaging with it, then maybe read around other subjects. But yeah, look, finally, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but you do find yourself at university, like I've done with my charitable scheme, and there is no better place to find yourself than Cambridge, although some of the delegates might disagree, but they would. The point is, each of you are good enough, each of you are smart enough, and I do hope to see each of you in the near future in Cambridge. Cheers, guys.
Diolch yn fawr i ti, Jacob. Jacob was just as entertaining yesterday. Diolch yn fawr i ti am rannu dy brofiadau. Mae'r gair na angerdd yn air pwysig ydy credu nath hwnna ddod drwyddo'n eitha cryf ddoe hefyd. That word passion is a word that we heard from Jacob and that we heard yesterday as well. A really important word, I think, that you are clear about what, really you're passionate about. Iawn, nesa te, o'n eisiau rhoi llwyfan i rywun sy'n yr un sefyllfa chi, rywun sy'n un oedran â chi, felly ni'n mynd i glywed Morgan Cronin.
So now we're going to hear from Morgan Cronin. He's in year 13 in Hogan High School in Pontypridd. She came through the Seren initiative last year, and she has had a fully funded offer to study in Yale.
You may know that Yale University, a highly prestigious university in America, is named after Elihu Yale, a former president of the East India Company in the 18th century, during the time of the British Empire, who could trace his own heritage to the ancient Welsh town of Yale, Yale in English, which then was part of Lower Powys and is today part of Shropshire. But the historic link to Wales wasn't enough for Morgan. Last year, she also took part in the Sutton Trust's US programme, which gave her the opportunity to live and study in that country for a short while during the summer. The Sutton Trust are represented here today for any teachers that are interested in more information about this. For now, though, let's welcome Morgan to share her experiences about the process of applying to university and her reflections on the Seren programme. Croeso, Morgan.
Hi, so an introduction. I'm Morgan Cronin and I'm currently a Year 13 student at Hawthorne High School in Pontypridd, where I'm studying maths, further maths and physics at A-level. In August, I'll be attending Yale University in the US, and I'm looking at majoring in physics and philosophy. So I'm going to mainly focus on the UK university process because I think that's more relevant to every year. So university was initially a scary prospect for me. I'll be the first in my family to go to university, so there was a lot of uncertainty. And although I'm attending university abroad, I also went through the process of applying to a UK university. One thing that helped me was starting early. All through year 12, I was focused on finding the right university and course for me. So I'd always sort of planned to apply to the top universities in the UK, and after finding out about the underrepresentation of Welsh students here, this was one of my main concerns. I was worried about cultural differences and being a minority. But however, this was dispelled for me through speaking to current Welsh students at top universities at Seren Network events, which either you will have already been to or you will go to throughout this year. So obviously Jacob and Chloe as well, you could speak to. And also through attending some schools and programs at some of these universities. So the theme of this conference is going beyond the curriculum. And to me, going beyond the curriculum is really all about finding what you enjoy. That's what I think the definition would be. So it's about exploring your academic interests, finding what you enjoy and what you want to further study. So right now, you know what subjects you like, and you probably know what sort of thing that you want to do at university. But exploring your academic interests will allow you to find an area that you really love or something you want to look further into. And this kind of passion for your subject is how you know you're going to be studying the right thing for you and you're not going to get bored of it halfway through your course. Because the worst thing for you to do now would be to pick the wrong course and end up studying something that you're going to get bored of, you're going to lose motivation. So really, if you do your research now, you should prevent that from happening. So we all like the subjects we're good at in school, but going beyond the curriculum is about being so interested in the subject that you don't suddenly hate it once you approach it at a harder level. I found that the skills and background knowledge I picked up through exploring outside of the curriculum also really aided my schoolwork and my confidence in my abilities. You need to have an open mind when it comes to this. At the start of year 12, I was dead set that I wanted to do a maths degree, but through reading around certain areas of maths and looking at the applied side, I realised that it was actually physics I was more interested in. So once you know what subject you want to study, you need to start looking at universities and courses. As part of the Seren network, you've already shown that you're very academically able. So it would make sense that you're aiming for the top universities, and a lot of you will be aiming for the top 2 in the UK, Oxford and Cambridge. A lot of students are put off by the admissions tests and interviews that come along with applying to Oxbridge, but the process is an experience, and preparing for them will further help you develop your skills and knowledge in your subject. You also have the advantage of the Seren network providing support in the form of subject-specific classes and mock interviews. So obviously last year I was in the same position as you, I was on this programme, and I did apply to Oxford and my application was unsuccessful, but the support that I received last year really did help me get to that position. It helped me decide to apply, it helped my confidence, and also it did improve my skills. Even though my application was unsuccessful, I was more sort of ready to apply and ready to approach sort of the admissions test, definitely, because of the subject-specific classes mainly. So with this support and programmes like Oxford's unique summer school and Cambridge's shadowing scheme, Oxford is becoming increasingly more accessible and welcoming to Welsh students. Yet still the number of applications by Welsh students isn't increasing. This may be because of the fear of failure that comes along with high-achieving students that aren't used to being unsuccessful, which is something that I felt last year, and the Seren network helped me overcome. So you shouldn't let this get in the way of your ambition. If you love the course at Oxford or Cambridge and you think it's somewhere you'd really enjoy spending 3 years, then you've got nothing to lose by applying. The most important message really is that if you're part of the Seren network, then you're capable of applying to and attending the top universities in the UK. The only thing potentially stopping you is yourself. I really want to emphasise though that there's no shame in not wanting to apply to Oxbridge or any other top universities because you really want to stay close to home or any other personal reason. But you shouldn't let that reason be because you don't think you're capable or you don't think you'll get in. Looking at the other top universities in the UK, there are very few that are close to home for Welsh students, so often attending a top university means you'll have to move away from your home. When you're considering applying to a university, you really need to ask yourself realistically, if I were given an offer, would I go to this university? In my case, I applied to universities in Scotland and obviously abroad in America, and before I sent off my application, I really had to make sure that I would definitely be willing to move to Scotland or obviously now America. So visiting the university is a great way to tell whether or not the university is right for you, and it will help you answer that question. So now I'm going to talk a bit about my experience on the Sutton Trust US programme. So over the summer, I spent a week at summer school in Yale, and really without that, it wouldn't have given me the confidence to go and apply to Yale. Obviously, being on campus, I got the feel and I loved it, and I knew that was where I wanted to be. And not only that, I realised I wanted to be in American university, so even though I stayed at Yale, it gave me the confidence to apply to other American universities to know that that was somewhere I wanted to be. So there's loads of opportunities for summer schools. Obviously, you'll probably hear about that today from the university representatives, but you should really take that opportunity. Don't be scared to go for that, because that's a huge thing and it will definitely improve your confidence. So my advice to you now is look around at courses, order as many perspectives as possible, speak to the representatives today, and really do your research, especially if you're interested in interdisciplinary studies. For me, course content was a lot more important than the university itself. I found that the first year course content at every university for my subject was pretty much the same. So I looked at second and third year modules and options and considered those instead. I already had an idea of some of the areas I was interested in, so by looking at options, I could see which universities I'd be able to explore my interests earlier, and that was something that's important to me. So the message there is find what's important to you in a course and look for that. I think anyway, the course for me was more important to the university, maybe differently for you, but find what's really important to you, what you really want from your university and education experience, and look for that in your course. And in conclusion, I just want to say that being able to attend a top university is an amazing opportunity, and you're all capable of that. You can apply to 5 universities through UCAS, so even if you're unsure, I think it's worth sending at least one of these to a top university. Even if it's unsuccessful, you have 4 other options, so you really have nothing to lose, and you have potentially something amazing to gain. Thank you.
Diolch fawr iawn i ti, Morgan, a ni'n dymuno'n dda iawn i ti
And
gyfer y dyfodol
we wish you well
yn
to the
Yale
future
yn Unol
in
Daleithiau.
Yale, in the United States.
Right, before we go on to our sessions, I want to take you through an important element of today's conference. At a few key points, I mentioned feedback earlier. We're going to be surveying you for opinions and feedback. So some of you have already answered questions in the lead-up to the conference. But to get us into the interactive mood, let's all have a quick familiarisation session with the way this will work. So it's over to Sam Wheeler for a demo. Croeso, Sam.
Hi guys. All right, I'm going to get you to get active straight away. So before I go into what DuPol is all about and share with you a video, can I ask the back 3 rows, so the emptier row, there's empty 2 rows, and there's a full row at the back, 3 rows at the back. Could you grab your phones or your iPads, whatever devices you've got with you today? And in a tab, could you type in that address for me? We're going to give it a go live. Hopefully it will work. And then I will keep talking. And just allow it to load on your phones. Should hopefully take around a minute or so to load up. And in the meantime, I'll tell you what we're going to be doing. So DuPol is a web-based app that has been created by a fantastic bunch of guys here in Wales. They're based in Cardiff, but they work UK-wide. They've got a partnership with Welsh Government. And the idea behind it is that it's a honest, anonymous, really quick and easy way to get feedback. So instead of paper copies and thinking of all these crazy printouts and a waste of paper, it's all electronic, it's all digital based, and it's really easy for you guys to interact with as well, which is really important, and it's easy to create from the back end, so a really nice process as well. I'm going to quickly show you the video about how we use it. Hopefully it will come back up. Let's try.
Hello and welcome. Today you'll be asked to take part in a DuPol. DuPol is an easy-to-use, real-time platform for surfacing information in groups of people. If you've got a phone or a tablet with you, pull it out now and enter the link that the organizer of your event will share with you. And while you're answering, don't worry, everything is completely anonymous. We won't know who voted for what, and we won't ask you to put in any personal information. Keep the page open because new questions will be added throughout the day. No need to refresh. So just load the link and answer the questions as they appear. Watch the results change in real time as your choices get automatically tallied with everyone else's.
Awesome. So hopefully we should have some responses to ping up on the screen now. If I could ask the guys at the top to bring up the screen. Lovely. Fab. So have you got it loaded on your phones, the back 3 rows? Not loading up? All right, so what happens is, when it is loaded on your phones, you just need one-time link onto the Wi-Fi, and it'll automatically let you know when we're uploading questions throughout the day. So there's around about 20 questions that we're going to send to you throughout the day. And they're really, really important that we get this feedback from you, for the Welsh Government perspective and for you guys as well, because we want to improve these experiences, these events, and your continued programme with Seren as well. So what would happen is that you would complete the questions really simply, and the bars there, the red, would move back and forth depending on what you guys were picking. So we will make sure this link is posted up around the building and remind you of it in the sessions throughout the day. Please do log into it. Make sure you give us your feedback. And we'll, at lunchtime, going to have a little look at some of the answers to the questions. So by then, hopefully, we've got a really good feel from you guys about your experiences and yeah, what you want to get out of this session post. So that's about it from me. Any questions will be based up there all day and hovering around as well. So just grab us if you are struggling, come and let us know. Fab, enjoy.
Diolch yn fawr Sam. Fel nath Sam weid, mae'n bwysig iawn bod ni'n clywed wrthoch chi, achos mae'r rhaglen yma ar gyfer dyfodol ac siapio'r rhaglen y dyfodol.
Because this is to shape the programme for the future. So we want to hear your opinions and your ideas, because you are at the root of this programme and
If you can now
initiative.
take a look at your programme, so you know where you're meant to be next, the respective sessions. And there's one change I need to let you know about, which is the social sciences teacher, unfortunately, has been taken seriously ill, and we've not been able to replace him at short notice. I'm sure we wish him all the best. But I'm also sure that you'll be able to find another session that's just as valuable and of interest to you. So take a look at the programme and see what you can find of interest if you're planning to go to that social sciences session. Any questions you've got during the day, ask anybody in a yellow t-shirt. And that's it from me for the time being. Have a great day, and I'll see you later. Iawn? Diolch yn fawr iawn am mwynhewch.